off, when you hear the word Byzantine, remember, think so-called Jews who was actually black. When you hear Christian, think so-called Jews who was actually black, because the real Jews are black. Remember that, remember that, remember that. Whenever you hear Byzantine, the Byzantine Empire, we was ruling. So-called blacks. When you hear them, think of black Israelites. When you hear Christians, think of black Israelite.
In this video, I will be addressing the statement by the Black Hebrews, an Afrocentric community, that the Spanish Christians were black. They conclude this by discarding all literary sources, which they claim have been doctored, and use images of Christian Spanish origin, which portray figures with a brownish hue. Ignorant that images are painted with multiple layers, so that upon the outer layer fading, only the underlayer remains, they automatically assume that all images possessing a darkish hue, were thus so in the original, and that the lighter ones have been whitewashed. All this is said without having a shred of evidence. To begin my argument, I will be reading from the poem of Lcid, which is based on a true story. Written in AD 1207, to this date it remains the oldest preserved Castilian epic poem. Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar, known as Lcid, was a Spanish nobleman, heralding from Vivar, in the lands of Castile. He became renowned for fighting in merciless wars against the Moors, for being invincible in battle, for his honor, courage, and wealth. Excerpts will now be read from this book, which refute the theory of Christian Spain being black. Page 179. My Cid asked for his sons, in law, but they were not to be found, although people were calling them, they have no answer. When they were found, they came along, the color had gone from their cheeks. Lcid's sons-in-law were the Counts of Carrion, an ancient noble house presumed to have heralded from Leon, northern Spain. If the counts were black, then how could color have left their cheeks? White people turn pale in fear. White people turn pale in illness. Black people are perpetually black. Page 180, 181. My Cid Don Rodrigo went out with a smile on his face. May God watch over you, my sons, in law, infantes of Carrion. You are married to my daughters, as white as the sun. Here my Cid proclaims his two daughters as having a complexion as white as the sun. For those who doubt the interpretation of white as the sun, referring to complexional color, let me produce another excerpt from the same book. Page 223. The man born in a favored hour did not delay, he put on breeches of fine cloth and over them shoes richly worked, he dressed in a fine shirt, of cloth shining white like the sun. So you see, when white as the sun is written, it means the physical white color. If Cid's daughters were white, then surely Cid was too. Page 239. Azure Gonzalez entered the hall, trailing an ermine cloak and a long tunic, his face was bright red, for he had just eaten. If this nobleman, Azure Gonzalez, was black, then how could his face be bright red? The Afrocentric community, and Black Hebrews, profess that in all the white man's history, not one single race has had anything good to say about him. Apparently all the white man has done is raped, robbed, lied, and murdered. The following passage in Lcid alone discredits this theory. Page 93. When my Cid decided to leave the fortress, the Moors began to lament, men and women alike. Are you going, my Cid? Let our prayers go before you. We are very grateful to you, our Lord, for what you have done. When my Cid, the man from Vivar, left Alcocer, the Moors began to weep, men and women alike. The people of Alcocer were saddened, for he had done them much good. So much for whites being the devil. Upon the departure of Rodrigo Díaz, and his Christian white men, the blacks mourned because not once had they been wronged, rather, they were treated well, fairly, and prospered under the occupation of LCID. Page 121. While all rejoiced at the news of this event, a priest arrived from France. His name was Bishop Don Geronimo. He had studied widely, was very wise, and fought well both on foot and on horseback. He asked about my CID's deeds, longing to encounter Moors on the field of battle, for so long as he were to have his fill of fighting hand to hand, no Christian ever need weep for his death. Don Geronimo was a French bishop in an alleged black France. If France were black, the word Moor itself meaning dark, and synonymous with the word black, then why would Don Geronimo have travelled so far from his native land, just so he could prove himself on the field of battle against blacks? If Moors were in France, how is it that prior to entering the Iberian Peninsula, he had never fought one? To conclude on the analysis of the poem LCID, although it doesn't expressly proclaim the Christian figures white, it easily enables anyone with a brain cell to deduce that the Christians in Spain, along with those in France, were. Those who claim otherwise are brain-dead buffoons. Before ending this video, I want to reference a book written by a man, acclaimed by the Afrocentric community, named Ivan van Sertima. Ivan's book, The Golden Age of the Moor, is commonly referenced by the Afrocentric community. The excerpt which I'm about to read refutes the concept of a black Spain. When I submitted this evidence to an Afrocentric to refute his theory, he responded with the following. Ivan van Sertima's book is outdated. If he were to publish it anew, that would be removed. Unable to respond with a credible argument, he spewed hogwash. Ivan's book was published in 2002, it's not like it was written in the early 1900s. I will now read the pro-white Spain excerpt. Page 336. They are nearer animals than men. They are by nature unthinking and their manners crude. Their bellies protrude, their color is white and their hair is long. In sharpness and delicacy of spirit and in intellectual perspicacity they are nil. Ignorance, lack of reasoning power and boorishness are common among them. I repeat. Their color is white. This was written by a Moor, and without doubt makes clear that these Christians in the land of Spain, were white. Thus the idea of a black Christian Spain is baseless and delusional. And finally, page 4. It was such populations that largely comprised the Moorish people, called Moors, from the Greek mors, the Roman moris equal dark, because of the attribute of blackness which sharply distinguished them from the bulk of the European people. Ivan, an Afrocentric himself, proclaims correctly that the black Moors were easily distinguished from the largely white European populace because of their blackness. His statement hits two birds with one stone, for in Acts 13:1, Simeon is expressly given the nickname Niger, which means black. It was his black complexion, which distinguished himself from his companions, and hence arose his nickname, as was the case with the Moors.